Game started, I'm getting absolutely ripped by Samir Nasri.
In May 2007, Matthew Briggs made history, becoming the youngest Premier League player ever. He was 16 years and 68 days old when he came off the bench for Fulham.
What a day for Matthew Briggs.
He was one of England's most exciting young players.
And I was playing alongside, I think we had Kieran Trippier right back, me and Carl Walker centre back, Joe Mattock left back, we had Welbeck, Andros Townsend, we had loads of players.
He was set to be a football superstar, but things did not go to plan. Matthew went from being the youngest Premier League player ever to working on a building site by his mid-20s.
Yeah, that's when I turned to drugs, I turned to alcohol just to numb it all, numb the pain. I remember being on holiday in Dubai and just thinking about ending it all on a balcony.
Matthew's story is one of the craziest we've ever heard. He talks us through the highs and lows of life as a Premier League baller. What's it really like? This is his story.
How have I ended up in this situation? Like, I was the youngest player in the Premier League. I was like dubbed next England captain, going on to do all these big things, and now I'm just in a building site carrying a breeze block. My name is Matthew Briggs, mostly known for being the youngest player to play in the Premier League for Fulham FC in 2007, and I'm doing perspectives for Rising Ballers.
You're from Wandsworth. South London is known as a breeding ground for talented footballers. Why do you think that is?
Personally, I think London in general is a big place. You know, there's a lot of cultures in London, and naturally, football brings a lot of people together, especially for kids in disadvantaged backgrounds, and not even just them, kids in general. I think the main sport is football in this country, and kids love it. So loads of kids play together, and there's always them gems, you know, that get picked up from other clubs and stuff. Grew up in Wandsworth, like you said. School was good, I had my mates, and we all loved football, which was ideal. So all I would ever do is after school be playing football in my friend's estate, or if you wanted to find me at school, you just go to the cages, you'll see me there. So I was playing for a local team, Wanderers, and I started there, I think I was 8 or 9 years old, just to get me into playing football. So obviously I loved it. My mum said I'd be a footballer when I'm older because I'd kick anything that was around. But yeah, started there, was doing fantastic there, and a lot of clubs started sniffing around. You know, like Chelsea, Arsenal, Fulham, Wimbledon, you name it, handing their cards to my mum. And she got quite overwhelmed by it. But luckily I had a mentor as such called Sonny, who gave my mum advice and done a bit of work for Fulham and Arsenal as well, but he advised us to go and try out at Fulham. So initially, when I went to play at the Watford tournament for Fulham on a trial, and they wanted to sign me straight away, and my mum didn't want me to. She thought he needed a bit more time to be a kid, enjoy the football, so I continued to play at Wandsworth for another year. And the following season, that's when I did sign for Fulham. And for me, I kind of progressed quite quickly through the age groups. So I obviously started at under 10s, but I would always play a year or 2 years above my age group until the pinnacle moment of me making my debut at 16.
Talk us through the debut then.
I always say for me it was a surreal moment. You know, it was one of the proudest moments of my life. Came about very quickly, unexpectedly. When I made my debut, I didn't quite actually realise what I had achieved. Because for me, you know, playing football was second nature. Just loved doing it. Didn't think about it too much. But when I was sat on the bench and told, you know, if you do come on, you will become the youngest player to play in the Premier League, it hit me then. I was like, all right. But then in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I'm definitely coming on. Like, they're telling me that, I'm 100% going to come on. So I was prepared for it. But I think what was special about it, that my mum was there. She was in the box. Never forget it, above the dugout. Obviously came on. Fans were shouting, who are ya, who are ya? And for me, that was like, I loved it, because obviously you watch it on TV, you watch Match of the Day, and you want to see the fans singing your name, or if they're just singing abuse, fair enough. You know, that's what you get yourself into when you want to become a footballer. But when the final whistle went, looking up and seeing my mum there in tears, crying, it was a special and proud moment for myself.
Sort of tell me the story after that huge moment.
Like I said, I think I didn't really know what I had achieved at that point. Obviously, I knew I was going to be playing in the Prem, which was great. You know, that's my dream and what I've always wanted to do. But I didn't realise the impact it would have on me and the people around me as such. So obviously after the game, I've got back to Wandsworth, to my nan's house. remember rushing back thinking I want to get back to watch Match of the Day to see my clip of me coming on, which I did. But it was the next day going to school. I just thought it was a normal day, you know. Got my bag on, walked to school. But when I've walked in, it's gone silent. You can hear a penny drop and then you hear people whispering. And I was just like, what's going on here? It's a bit weird. Like, why is everyone acting like this? And then all of a sudden people running up to me saying, oh my God, I saw you on TV last night. You played in the Prem. Can I have an autograph? And I was thinking, oh, my autograph? You're my mate. Like, I play with you every day at school. Like, we talk on the phone. You don't want my autograph, do you know? But even the teachers as well, I think they started treating me a bit different as well. Like, letting me get away with certain things, wearing what I wanted to school. But it was, yeah, a bit of a weird moment for me after that.
Did you start getting like a lot of attention in a football sense?
It wasn't too bad, to be fair. I think there was times when I'd go to training, or going back, it was the last day of the season, wasn't it? So we had the off season then. And going back to Fulham the following season, in my head, I had imagined that I'd be involved with the first team, like on a regular basis, but I wasn't. And I found that hard to deal with. But I mean, things like be training with my age group in the Dome, for example, and, you know, kids would come in and they'd be like, look, there's Briggs, and people talking like that. So for me, it was different, but something I think I took quite well and handled quite well initially at the time.
What were the negatives of that experience?
Negatives for me, I think, was me anticipating being involved with the first team a lot more, obviously the following season. And when that doesn't happen, you start to think why and start to wonder why. And I think being that young, you don't feel that you're allowed to go and knock on the door or ask any questions as to why you're not being involved. You know, you just kind of keep it all inside and then you have to deal with it. And I wasn't somebody that would necessarily speak about my feelings or my emotions. I wouldn't talk to my mum or anyone close to me about what I was feeling. So it'll be pent up in there, overthinking, which then starts to affect your football and how you play.
Can you talk to me about, you know, the clubs coming in for you and what you were hearing, media attention and the pro contracts and stuff?
Yeah, so basically I was at the point I'm still at school, so I need to sign my scholarship. And, you know, the whole way through my schooling, one of my friends, Craig Eastman, was at Arsenal at the time. He would always come and say, come and sign for Arsenal. You know, so-and-so has been trying to, you know, get you to come and wants me to talk to you about coming. And it's an attractive club, Arsenal. We're not going to kid anyone here. Like, if they come in for you, you're going to be tempted to go. And I think for me as well, the name Arsenal was like, God, I'd love to play for them. So I started to sway to go in there, and I've not signed my scholarship yet. So, you know, Fulham obviously want me to sign and keep offering me the contract, but I was still humming and hawing about it. But then obviously my debut comes up, and the only way you can play is obviously if you sign a professional contract. So they've offered me a 2-year scholar, and I think it was a 1 or 2 year pro. And I'm not going to turn down the chance to have a chance to play in the Prem. So I ended up signing at Fulham.
Can you just sort of generally take me through your journey after that?
Well, when I think back to it, I didn't make my next appearance until 2 years later. So in them 2 years, there was a lot of doubt, self-doubt going on inside my head. A lot of confusion as to why I'm not playing. Like I said, I didn't feel like I could go and ask why. So there was a lot of stuff I was dealing with by myself. And I always allude to the story like the Space Jam. You've obviously seen Space Jam, right? When the NBA players lose their talent. That's how I felt. So there was one, I think it was not the season directly after my debut, but the season after that. And obviously I knew I'd signed a 2-year scholar and a professional contract after that. But in my head, I was like, I'm going to get released. The worst season I've ever had in my life. Nothing I would do would come off. I remember I used to remember that Ronaldo chop where he would like run and chop inside and shoot? I couldn't even do that. And every game I was playing, terrible touch tackles, balls just boing off my chest, horrendous. And yeah, I was really worried after that. I was thinking, I'm dead. I'm a dead player. Where's my ability gone?
So the debut almost had the opposite effect. You almost like felt like you regressed as a player.
Pretty much. But then when I look back on it, it's all down to the mindset and the mentality and what's going on in your head. If your head's not right, there's no way you're going to be able to perform on the pitch. I'd be starting games thinking, my first touch has got to be good. Like, if I don't have a good first touch, I'm going to have a bad game. Whereas before, I wouldn't think of anything like that. I'll just play with freedom.
What do you think you needed at that point that maybe you didn't have?
Well, I always say I try to be the person now that I didn't have when I was younger. So 100% need, mentors and stuff like what I do now. I needed somebody that could relate to me, who I could relate to, somebody who was there on a personal level that would check in with me, give me advice. Because obviously I had my mum. She done her best as a single mum, but obviously being a footballer, you move out of home from the age of 16, you go into digs, you're no longer under their roof, so they can't keep eyes on you. So obviously needed someone to give me advice and kind of guide me in the right direction.
A few conspiracy theories in football about inflating players' prices. Do you think you were maybe a victim of that?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, looking back, I think, yeah, probably I was. When I think, football's a business, and any club that invests time, money, resources into a player, from their side of it, they'll be stupid to just let you go. So I get it, in a way. I get it that they give you your debut to bump your price up to get the money back that they've invested in you. But I also think that from a club perspective, they need to be more transparent with players. So if they're doing that, they need to let them know where they stand in the club. Because, I think clubs can be guilty of giving players a debut, and then players are then thinking that they're at a higher level than what they perhaps are. And also giving them the time to develop. I think, some players, they'll have a debut or get their contract, but they're not given the opportunities they need to develop as a player. And when it does come to a point where they end up getting released or no longer at the club, they're in then a negative position to go and sign for someone else.
When did you start seeing money?
Well, when I was 17, I started seeing money. But the big bucks, I'd say 18. I was 18 when I started seeing big money, started to see life-changing money. And it was just...
How did that impact you?
Initially, I wouldn't say it impacted me in a bad way, but I think over time, the industry itself corrupts you because you're around players that's got unlimited amounts of money. You feel like you have to keep up with their lifestyle. And naturally, if you've got the money, you're going to spend it. So you're going to buy nice clothes, nice cars. Luckily, I did save at the time. My mum made sure I saved to get a house, which I did. But you're young, you're young. You've got your peers around you and your friends and other footballers that want to go out and want to party. So I think naturally, unless you've got people that can reel you in, and my mum tried, but again, I wasn't under her roof, so she couldn't keep tabs on me. So I'm living away from home. I do what I want. If someone wants to go out, I'm there. I'll go out. And I think in the football industry, if you're out, there's a lot of competition. So if you're buying bottles, I'm buying bottles. It's hard not to change. You try not to, but it's hard. It's hard not to.
Did you have a party phase as a player?
I think it gets worse when you're not playing, because if you're not playing, it's like you've got no, well, you should have, but it's like you've got no focus. You kind of expect not to play. So when it's a weekend, you're going to go out, you're going to spend big money. And I never forget, one night I'll never forget, in London, I think the club was called Anaya. I think I spent around 6-7 grand in one night. Hired out the whole VIP. And to be fair, it was a cracking night. I'm not gonna lie. I won't lie. It was a great night. But you look back and think, why did I do that, man? Memory-wise, great memories. But financially, should I have done that? Did I need to do that? No. It was too much. I had the bank on the phone. The manager of the club came out to me and said, Matthew, your bank's on the phone. I said, what? He said, yeah, come to the office. I'm in the back office in the nightclub. I'm like, hello. He's like, there's a lot of money trying to be spent. I said, yeah, run that. It's me, run that through. Do you know what I mean? And I've gone back and carried on partying. But yeah, that was a really major party time of my life.
Take me through so what's happening at the journey at Fulham now.
So I think it was when Roy Hodgson was in charge. I didn't play any games. I was always a squad player, but I wouldn't play any reserve games. Well, they're called reserves at the time, so now they're 23s, but I wouldn't play any games for the reserve team. I wouldn't go on loan. There was one loan opportunity I had, was Blackburn, and I drove all the way up there. When I got there, I had a call to come back, which I was fuming about because I was itching to go on loan because I just wanted to play games. But you can imagine how frustrating it is as a player you know, you just want to play football, and training every day, it just gets boring. You feel like you're not developing. You're obviously seeing the people around you doing well, getting the media, the publicity, the stats, they're getting acknowledged by other clubs and just doing well for themselves in general, you know, and making a name for themselves, and you feel like that's not happening to you. So it's very frustrating. Roy Hodgson left, I think it was Mark Hughes that came in after that. And I played a little bit under him, but I was struggling a lot with injuries. My first major injury I had was my calves. And I played against Arsenal at the Emirates. And, you know, the whole couple weeks before this game, I was struggling with my calves, getting a lot of pain, burning sensations where I couldn't even move my foot.
How old are you going through that?
I think I was 18. This was when I was 18, I'd say. Maybe 19 at the time. But anyway, we're at the Emirates, warming up. I always had it in the back of my mind as well. I don't feel good. I don't feel 100%. I don't feel... And this is a time when they had like Sam Nasri, Arshavin. Like they were balling at this team. They had Walcott, Ramsey, like they were doing well. Van Persie as well. Doing the warm-up, my calves were burning me. And I've gone into the physio and I said, look, my calves, I can't run. And I was told, warm up, you're young, just maybe it's nerves, maybe your body's just a bit tense. Warm up, you'll be all right. But I knew I wasn't. I said, okay, game started, I'm getting absolutely ripped by Sam Nasri, but I couldn't move, like I actually couldn't move. And then I've put my arm up and I've stood on the halfway line and it felt like the ball wouldn't go out of play for about 10 minutes. It felt like 10 minutes, probably wasn't. But, you know, at the time, the players didn't realise what was happening to me. So like, what are you doing? I'm like, I can't move.
Yeah.
Anyway, the ball's gone out, I've been taken off. I'm in bits, like I think I was in tears at the time as well, just because I felt like I felt embarrassed, you know, felt shame. Obviously the fans are hammering me as well. Obviously that's happened. And then Twitter just started coming out at this point. And as you do, scrolling through social media because you want to see what's being said, getting absolutely ripped on Twitter. Like I'm talking like abuse.
Really?
And my mum lost it actually. She lost it and contacted Fulham and said, this ain't on. Like, I had surgery 2 days later.
Really?
Yeah, 2 days later.
On both your calves?
Both my calves. Had surgery 2 days later. And compartment syndrome could be fatal as well if it's not dealt with quickly. They said they'd never seen a kid or 19-year-old with muscles as big as mine in my calves. Really? So they had to like strip the fascia down or remove a little bit of muscle or something and drain my calves. And yeah, it's a whole big thing. But yeah, basically Fulham had to put a statement out and say, this is what happened to me, this is why I performed like that or whatnot, just to kind of take the pressure off and get them off my back.
Yeah. So what happened after that injury then? So how long were you out for? Did you come back? What happened?
I think I was out for a few months. And actually, luckily, we played Arsenal again at Craven Cottage this time. And I started that game, which I was buzzing about. Because I felt like it was my time a bit of redemption kind of, just to prove that I weren't 100% before, now I'm 100%. And I think we drew 1-1, started left back, but I had a blinding game. Like I played unbelievable. I think Walcott was on the right, he was in my pocket. Like, done well, you know. And for me, at the end of the game, I was buzzing about, you know, getting back, being able to play against Arsenal again and actually put in a good performance.
So what happened in those 4 years?
So Martin Yole took over from Mark Hughes, best manager I played under at Fulham. He loved young players. He was good at nurturing them, developing them, because he actually cared for you as a person and an individual, put his arm around you, make sure everything's good at home, your personal life's good. And he would himself take you and do 1v1, one-to-one training, which was amazing. And he just gave you the confidence you needed as a young player, and he put his trust in you as well, which I think is important. I think not so much now, but back then I think managers were scared to put trust in young players. So if he saw you had the ability and had the talent, he'd say, go and play, go and express yourself, which was amazing. And I played the most games for Fulham under Martin Yole. But what I'd say about when he was the manager, he offered me, which people probably don't know, he offered me a 3-year contract extension the season he got sacked. And I was injured at the time. And I started the Premier League campaign. I think we played Newcastle and Sunderland. And then I had groin problems, so I was out. But he offered me a 3-year deal. And I would have been on double what I was on at the time. And you can imagine an extra 3 years is, for a player, that's stability, you know. You're still playing in the Premier League, it's stability for you, financial stability. But then he got sacked before I signed it. And then Felix Magath came in and he kept saying to me, you're not signing it until you're fit. So I'm like, that's a bit strange, but cool, I'll roll with it. So I was doing everything I can to get back fit, and I got back fit 2 weeks before the end of the season. So I'm like, okay, I'm fit now, can I sign the deal? He ended up, I won't say ripped it up, but he took the contract away and got rid of 12 other players so he could bring in his own team. And that destroyed me mentally. I think for me, I was always golden boy at Fulham. I was part of the furniture. I think at one point I was longest serving player at the age of 21 at Fulham because I started so young. And I would see so many players come and go, but Briggsy's still here. You know? Even staff would come and go. So I always thought that I'm going to be at Fulham for the foreseeable. Like, I just thought there's no way I'm going to leave Fulham. They love me here. This is my club. So when that did happen and I got released, I didn't know. It didn't even feel real, to be honest, at the start. It didn't feel like a real thing. I thought I'd wake up and it would just be a bad dream. And what killed me is because I was injured as well. The lack of exposure I had, so I didn't really have many loans. I had a few loans, but there was always 1 month. My longest one was Watford, which was decent. But at the point I got released, I don't even think I'd made 150 appearances or 100 appearances, league appearances. So for a club to look at an injured player who's not got that much exposure or experience, no one wanted to take the chance. I only had Blackpool and Millwall at the time. And obviously I went to Millwall because it was a London club, closer. And I just felt like it would be a better fit for myself. So I ended up going to Millwall. And even my first day at Millwall, I was driving to Fulham and I had to be like, oh, where am I going? And go to Millwall. So I was just so used to, it was just second nature, just driving to Fulham.
I saw a clip of you telling a story about Clint Dempsey in training. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Clint Dempsey, nicest man you ever meet. He's such a great guy. But on the pitch, he's the angriest guy ever. Like, you see he's always covered in bruises. Like, he wants to win. He's a winner, born winner. But there's one day in training, I'll never forget. I don't know if I think it was a training session after a game. So maybe he didn't play or something. But you know them sessions they have for the players that didn't play or injured players, they all train together just to keep fit. It was either a young boy training with us or a trialist. And there's a few tackles flying in here and there. And you know young players want to prove a point. They want to put their stamp on the session. They want to impress the manager and whatnot. So this player's gone flying into a tackle on Clint Dempsey. And he literally grips him up by his tops. Said, don't you ever kick me like that again. Like, had him pinned on the floor. And everyone was like, whoa, calm down. And yeah, we had to like break it up and stuff. But that was mad. That was mad.
Any other like jokes behind the scenes stories that you've gone through in your career that you've seen in football?
So when I was playing for England under-19s, we was playing the European Championships in Ukraine. And I was playing alongside, I think we had Kieran Trippier right back, me and Carl Walker centre back, Joe Mattock left back, we had Welbeck, Andros Townsend, we had loads of players. And we'd done amazing in this, in the European Championship, got to the final and ended up losing to Ukraine. And to be fair, they were decent, can't lie, they were a good team, but we lost, I think, 2-1 or 3-1. So manager was not happy, as you can imagine. And prior to that, we used to sneak out the hotel to get McDonald's because he was bored of the food. The food wasn't great. But on this night, the manager was adamant, we're not going out. Like, you're not going, no one's going out. We're leaving tomorrow at, midday or whatever. Everyone needs to be in their bed by 9 o'clock, rested for us to travel back. But, boys, when they go, to another country, like, we need to go out. We need to see the country. We need to go out and experience it. So a few of us have snuck out of the hotel and gone to a club. And I think the Ukraine boys were there as well. I think they took us there because we didn't know where to go. And I don't remember anything of this night. Like, last thing I remember was going to the bar and getting a drink called Gone with the Wind. And it done exactly what it said on the tin.
Yeah.
So this drink was, they pour some liquid in, then a different colour liquid, so it made it like a purple colour. Then they put something on the rim, set it on fire. Then had this straw, so you drink it. Then they put the cup upside down, get the straw, and then you take the fumes out of the cup. Last thing I remember is it just went blurry, and I remember sitting down, and then I remember Trippier going, Briggs there, need to go, lad. And I was like looking at him going, what? Had my arm over his shoulder, carrying me out the club, and got back to the hotel, and the manager sat in the lobby, like, and he just lost it. Then I was like, what did I tell you? I told you no one's meant to go out, get to your room now. Like, he absolutely lost it, but I have no recollection of the night at all. Woke up with a banging headache.
You still in contact with those boys?
Nah, you know what? Like, over the years, I fell out of love with the game. Obviously, I went through a very depressive moment in my career. I hated the game altogether. Just disconnected from the whole football world. So yeah, I lost contact with everyone pretty much.
Who was the main man? And did it make sense? Has he gone on to achieve?
Do you know what? Like, you say main man. That was one thing I always took really hard because I was one of them. And you know, it was me. It was Carl Walker, Jack Wilshere was obviously one of the main men. Henry Lansbury, Trippier as well was always rated highly, and Andros Townsend. There was a few, but when you look at their careers now, it makes sense why they're where they are.
What happened at Millwall after you found the way to the training ground?
So actually, Millwall, I didn't sign straight away. They had me on trial, and you can imagine, like, you're not getting paid, you're on trial. And Ian Holloway said, "Yeah, come on trial for a week. You've been injured. Just want to see if you're fit enough and see how you're performing and that. We'll have a few friendlies and stuff." I said, "Cool, I'll come down." So a week went by, nothing, no contract. Another week went by. So I said, let me finish the 2 weeks and then we'll see. So I've done the 2 weeks. I thought I've trained well. I thought I've played well. Still nothing. So I've got my agent to call him and see, well, what's the crack, what's going on. And he's just been humming and ahhing, basically saying, I'm not sure. Don't know, he's had a lot of injuries. I don't know if I need to take the risk. You know, the club's not been in a great place. We need somebody that can come in and be consistent and play a full season. But, you know, managed to get him on side and he ended up signing me. And I think what helped is that he's always been after me. When he was at Blackpool, he wanted me as well. So I think that's what helped, that he did know me as a player. He knew what I was capable of. And I think that's what swayed him in the end to sign me. And at Millwall, it was very, very inconsistent. I would play a game. We had Scott Malone, another left back. So every game we would alternate. Club wasn't doing great, and I don't think he knew the right team to play to get the results he needed, or we needed as a club. So I was constantly in and out of the team. And my debut, actually, I scored against Wickham in, I think it was the Carling Cup at the time, or Carabao Cup. Scored on my debut, got sent off on my debut. But we won 1-0. So,
So it was okay.
Yeah, that's a win-win there. But I think I got more cheers for getting sent off than I did for scoring. So obviously my first game after getting released, I've scored, taken my top off, giving it that one, thrown it, stood on my knees, giving it that, got a yellow card. And the captain, he came up to me and said, "Put your shirt back on, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right, cool." Got the shirt back on, second half, I'm attacking. I think I've got slide tackle, I've ridden the tackle, centre back's come out, but I've led with my leg and fly kicked him in his chest.
Oh shit!
And I knew straight away. It was like at that moment I knew I messed up.
Yeah.
And I just went like that. And I see the ref coming, and I was like, "Oh my God!" But I've gone in the change room now, and I'm thinking, "Please do not score. Please do not score." Like the other team, but we ended up winning 1-0. But the only downside of that was we would have played Fulham the next game in the league, in the champ, and I was suspended for that. So.
You would have liked that game.
Yeah, I would have liked to play in that game.
You wanted the revenge.
Yeah.
Nice. Listen, man, it's no secret that your career didn't go the way it should have. What are your reflections on that?
You know, looking back, I think I took it for granted, I'd say. You know, I tell a lot of young players, I don't ever take it for granted. You need to apply yourself, have the right discipline. And I think I lacked that at times. especially after going out and not looking after my body the way I should. So, you know, being tired going to training didn't help because I was out the night before or even 2 nights before, drinking heavily, losing focus. If I'm not in the team, then I lost the hunger pretty much. I think when you get too much too soon, there's nothing to fight for, to strive for. You know, it's like you're getting it regardless. And I think that's what killed me a little bit, the mentality and the mindset, definitely. Because I think without the fame, without the money, the cameras and all that stuff, you're just playing for fun and it's enjoyable. But once all that starts coming into play, it can be quite easy unless you've got the right guidance around you to lose yourself and to just get lost, in yourself, within the industry, and focus on everything else other than the reason you're doing what you do.
What are your experiences with mental health in football and away from it?
Well, like I'm very open in, you know, my experiences with mental health. I struggled a lot, you know, after Fulham especially, and I didn't know who I was anymore. I lost my identity. I saw myself as only a footballer, and if I'm not a footballer, what am I going to do? I'm nothing if I'm not a footballer. And, you know, once you start getting a lot of stress, depression, anxiety starts flooding into your mind, you're unable to do the thing you're born to do or the thing you're there to do. Anyway, it got to the point where I just, like I said, I lost the hunger for the game. I was slipping further and further down the leagues just because my mind wasn't right. Picking up injuries because I wasn't looking after myself. You know, alcohol is not good for mental health as well. If you're struggling mentally, the bottom of a bottle is not going to help you. I think I didn't speak about my problems to anybody, which wasn't great. So all them thoughts, them feelings that's pent up inside you, they're just festering. It's like planting a seed, you know, it just grows. You know, you don't pull the weeds out, they're just going to keep growing. Which is sort of what happened to me. And it got to the point where I think I went, after Chesterfield, I went to Barnet, didn't work out at Barnet.
How old are you at that point?
I think I was 25, 26. And I just thought, you know what, done, can't do this no more. It's a rejection or not playing, like not being able to do what I was normally capable of doing. Nothing was working, lost the hunger for it. The money I had a lifestyle that I could no longer maintain because of the money I was now earning. And it all got too much. And I just lost myself and I disconnected from friends, I disconnected from family because I felt like I let them down, felt like I let myself down. And I couldn't face anyone anymore. And yeah, that's when I turned to drugs, I turned to alcohol just to numb it all, numb the pain. And I even was suicidal at one point as well. I remember being on holiday in Dubai, one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and just thinking about ending it all on a balcony. And luckily, security guards came in and got me down and moved my room to a bottom floor. But when I think back, it's like, wow, like I went through that, and then I ended up getting therapy and counselling through the PFA. Sporting Chance, who I spoke to, I think I had 14 sessions with them. But they really helped me get my mind right. And in that moment, I went and lived with my uncle for a bit, from my dad's side of the family. And I remember I sat in his flat at the time. They would go to work, my aunt and my uncle go to work, and I would sit with my hood up in the dark. The TV weren't even on, I'd just be sat there, just don't even know what I was doing, just sat there doing nothing. And I think after a week, my uncle was like, "Math, you can't do this no more, man. This ain't healthy, this ain't good for you. You're making us feel a bit uncomfortable as you would because I'm in their house and I'm just depressed, I don't want to talk to anybody."
Were you technically at a club at this point?
Nah, doing nothing. But anyway, he said, "Yeah, you know what, you're not doing this no more. I'm not gonna let you sit in there and do this. You're gonna come and work with me." He's got a construction company. So you're gonna come and do labouring for me. I'll pay you £80 a day. It'll get you out the house, get some fresh air, some sunlight. You get to speak and socialise with people, and it will be good for you. And to be fair, it was good. You know, it got me speaking, got me opening up, and again talking to people, but it really made me reflect on my career. And again, I always say no disrespect to construction, because what they do is brilliant, and I learned a lot doing it. You know, I learned a lot of life skills doing it. But I remember I always tell this story about walking across the building site of a Breeze block, pouring with rain. You know, I think we was actually packing up for the day, but I was holding this Breeze block and I was thinking, like, how have I ended up in this situation? Like, I was the youngest player in the Premier League. I was like dubbed next England captain, going on to do all these big things, and now I'm just in a building site carrying a Breeze block, not playing for a club, not earning the money I was once on before. And I thought, no, this is not it for me. This ain't it. And from that day, I called up Colchester, and I tried to basically beg them to take me back and give me another chance. But so I called Steve Ball at Colchester, begging to take me back. And you know, given whatever circumstances the club are in, obviously I've not played for a while. He said, look, we can't take you back, but call Wayne Brown at Malden and Tiptree, because he's like the manager there now, and I'm sure I'll speak to him for you, and I'm sure he'll want you down there. So I said, all right, fine. Anyway, Brownie's called me and said, Briggs, I spoke to Borley. He's told me a situation. I would love you to come and play for me. Start enjoying your football again, and you know, if you like it, stay, and if not, then at least you tried. So I went down there, a couple training sessions, played a few games, and to be fair, I loved it. I started getting my love for the game back again, because all the pressure had gone, all the pressure from my peers, and because when you're playing non-league, I always allude to Malden and Tiptree as like 5 man and there's dog watching. There's no one watching. It's just you, the pitch, the players. There's no stress.
Back to basics, basically.
Back to basics, back to your roots, and back to when I was a kid, just playing with freedom. And I think I ended up being top goal scorer from left back. And yeah, unbelievable season I had. I ended up then begging my national team, because I had then switched from playing for England to playing for Guyana. So in 2015, I played for Guyana. But because I was going through all my depression and whatnot, I just stopped playing altogether. And every time they'd call me, I say, no, I don't want to go. So I think they got frustrated with me not, dedicating myself to the nation. So I had to beg for them to let me back in. And thankfully they did. And we went and played at the first ever Gold Cup. And I had a good tournament. And that's when I got scouted by a Danish club called HBK. I went and played professionally again. And I think for me, that was a proud moment, because not only had I then played for my country after not playing football for a year, I'm thinking I'm never going to play again. I mean, I walked out in front of 60,000 people at Minnesota's stadium against the USA, and then got scouted to go and play professionally again in a foreign country, which was always an aspiration of mine as well. So for me to show the mental strength and the resilience to do that, that was probably one of the proudest moments of my career, alongside obviously making my debut at 16.
Do you think players can be more open these days? Like, you've told us about your struggles, like someone like Dele Alli came out earlier this year. Do you think the game's changing? Do you think footballers can be more open these days? Yeah,
I definitely feel that footballers can be more open. Are they? I'm not so sure. I think it is getting better. For example, myself, I'm an academy mentor at Fulham. So having someone like me around that checks in with the players helps them massively. I think if they've got someone there that tries to get them to open up, it helps massively. I think on their own, they won't. Older players might, but the younger players, I think, they still need a bit of coaxing to open up and talk about whatever it is going on with them.
The fans don't see the reality of the game unless they're in it. Have you got any stories or anecdotes about that reflect maybe the darker side of football, agents or whatever it is? Anything come to mind?
I'll say the darker side in football, I think that people don't see. I think clubs don't always have the best interest of the player at heart. I don't think they intentionally mean to not have their best interests at heart, but at the end of the day, football is a business, so they need to do what's in the best interest of the club. And I think some decisions that clubs make can affect players in ways that they don't realise. And when that happens, players don't then open up about it. They keep it to themselves and they suffer in silence. I know I've gone through it personally when I've suffered in silence, and it takes you to a dark place that people don't see. And, you know, spectators or whatnot, they only see what they see on a screen. So if you're not playing well, he's crap. If obviously you've been a good player, you're a good player to be where you are, there's obviously a reason why you're not performing well. Could be injured, there could be stuff going on in your private life that people don't know about, there could be contractual stuff they don't know about. All these things that people don't see, you know, it festers in players' minds, and I think that is a real dark side for me in the football industry.
Your record's been broken.
Mm-hmm.
Is it once or twice? Twice. Let's talk about the first one.
So that was a bittersweet moment for me, actually. You know, I think I've had it the longest time, 12 years. But when the record finally got broken, obviously I was sad to lose it because that's an accolade that is amazing to have, you know. But when Harvey Elliot broke it, the pressure, I literally felt the pressure just
really
lift off my shoulders, because I no longer had that pressure from my peers or anyone in the industry thinking, where is he? Why is he not playing X, Y, and Z? Why is he not doing this? Why is he playing so low? He's not a great player. He's like, there's no one talking about me no more. It was on the shoulders of someone else, which for me was a great feeling. It was just the weight was gone. There was none of that pressure anymore.
Did you ever have contact with Harvey?
So yeah, no, I didn't have any contact with Harvey. You know, I had done interviews, obviously once he broke it, and, you know, wished him well. And yeah, just wished him good luck and wished him all the best. And congratulations, because it's a great accolade to have. Obviously, since Harvey, young boy Ethan at Arsenal took Harvey's record, and at that moment I was more at ease and in a better place mentally. And obviously, given what I do now, the mentoring side, I felt like it was my duty to reach out to him. So I messaged him on Instagram just saying congratulations, great achievement, but the work's not done. It's only just beginning, and so keep your head down, keep doing the right things. And he replied to me saying thank you, he appreciates it, which was nice, having that little interaction. I think they're integrated better. I think they train with the first team a lot longer before they even make their debut, which is amazing. There's a lot more player care involved in football now, which is good. There's still a lot of work to be done in that department, but it's there and it's being picked up, which is amazing to see, and it's something that's much needed in the football industry.
Are there any mistakes you made that you're happy to talk about today?
Mistakes for me, when I look back on my career, I'd say obviously taking it for granted, partying too much when I shouldn't have been, and not looking after my body. I think knowing who's real and who's not. There's a lot of hangers-on in football. When you're doing well, when you're high flying, it feels like everyone's your friend and everyone wants to know you. And in the moment, it feels amazing. But I feel like I wasn't, you know, people say I'm woke now. I wasn't awakening in them moments. I thought everyone was my friend, and I probably gave a bit too much, you know, and that's what they wanted. I just trusted everybody, when sometimes you've got to kind of take a step back and think, are they around me for the right reasons or the wrong reasons? You've got to be aware of your surroundings and the decisions you're making, which I don't think I was. And also I'd say listening to people that do have my best interests at heart. Like I said, my mum, for example, she would tell me, don't do this, don't do that. But I wouldn't listen because I was young and naive. And looking back in hindsight, I wish I did listen to the people that have my best interests at heart.
Given what you've gone through in your life, if your boys wanted to pursue football, how would you deal with that as a dad?
I would, you know, if they wanted to play football, I wouldn't stop them. Obviously, I think the benefit of that for me is that I've got lived experience. I've been through it myself, so I'll be able to guide them in the way that I wish I was guided. And obviously, being their dad, I'd have close proximity to them to be able to do that. But yeah, I would never hold them back from doing something they wanted to do or something that they loved.
I don't think I did. If you could change one thing about the football industry, what would it be?
Something I would change in football that I think I've alluded to earlier is that I think with the player care side, I think it would be beneficial to have, you know, more mentors like myself within football clubs, because I think it's very easy for young players especially to get lost in the system, and when that happens, you know, they lose themselves. And you know, for me, what I do, I'm somebody that picks up on stuff like that. Given that I've been there and done it myself and worn the t-shirt, I can pick up on body language and changes in behaviour. So having someone like that in the clubs that can go to them and pull them for a chat and say, "Oh, you're right, I've noticed this," I think that would just be amazing if that was to happen more so in the football industry.
Looking back at yourself when you were like 16, 17, 18, around that age, do you think, if you're honest, do you think you would have responded to your older self if you tried to do that?
Yeah, I think because obviously when I was younger, I didn't have that. That it would be like I would have to go and pursue someone to talk to them. Whereas if I had somebody that came to me, I think I'd respond well to that. I mean, I've had players at Fulham that say, "I don't know what I'd do if you weren't here," which for me that was like breath of fresh air. Like it touched me because it shows that I'm doing a good job. So I definitely feel that I would have responded well to that. When you feel like somebody gets you and relates to you, that goes miles, you know, that goes heaps and bounds. I think if you can have anybody, you can have a psychiatrist or a counsellor or whatever, but if they can't relate to you personally, it's not going to work. So the fact that I can relate to these boys, it goes a long way.
Why did you decide to retire from football?
Through injury. I mean, I've suffered, the injury that stopped me playing was my hip injury. You know, I've had groin injuries, compartment injuries that I spoke about before in my calves, but the hip was for me the one that, you know, I was playing with more pain than I was enjoying it. And I tried to play for Horsham at the beginning of this season and my hip just said, nah. I mean, when I was in Denmark playing professionally, I moved from the first club in Division 1 to Superliga team called Vejle, Bold Club, and I started getting pain again. Had a scan and the doctor said, "I think it's time to call it there, like your hip's in bad shape." And I don't know how, to be fair, I got a way of doing a medical, so I was lucky in a way that I was able to experience playing professionally again and at a high level. But yeah, I come to a mutual agreement to get a pay up and come back to England. I wasn't quite ready to stop, so I went against his advice and I was quite lucky to be able to get 2 more seasons out myself. But I tried to do another one this year and my hip just said, nah, because my hip would lock. I'll be playing an artificial pitch as well, so it's a lot of tension and stress on the joints. And yeah, my hip would lock on me and wouldn't unlock for 4 days and very painful. So I was in more pain than I was actually enjoying playing. So yeah, I thought your body knows when it's time to stop. And my body knew, so I knew it was time.
How do we make people or players more aware of what the PFA can do for them, do you think?
I mean, I was guilty of it myself. I didn't know what the PFA had to offer. I knew that they would cover, you know, courses that you wanted to do, but that was probably the extent of what I knew they offered. But I would, you know, if you're a player and you're with the PFA, contact them and ask them. They'll be more than happy enough to explain all the services they offer. I mean, for me, like the big thing is if you are not sure about something, go and ask. What's the worst that can happen, you know? Just go and ask. Call the PFA, email them, you know, and they'll tell you all the services that they have to offer.
What wisdom and advice do you have for young players trying to make it in football now?
Just enjoy it. And I think ask yourself why. Why do you play football? And when you know your why, you can focus on that and enjoy why you're playing football, you know? Don't doubt yourself. And identity, you're more than just a footballer. So in my case, I struggled with identity. So for me, that's all I was, that's all I could do. Never think that of yourself. Yeah, you're more than just a footballer. You know, it's a small part of your life. You can do courses to have something else to fall back on. You're a son or a daughter, you know, you're a friend. you're all these things. Like, don't put yourself inside a box, and just enjoy. Don't take life too seriously, And if you've got questions, ask. If you're feeling down about something, go and talk to somebody. Don't keep things pent up inside you, and play as high as you can for as long as you can, And I think that's the advice I'd give to young people.
Where is Matthew Briggs now?
So what I do now, I am an academy player care mentor for Fulham FC. So I think when I stopped playing, I thought, how can I use my negative and positive experiences to benefit myself? And what are my passions? What do I like to do? And I discovered that I have a passion for helping others. So Matthew Briggs is now a mentor, as I said, for Fulham FC, helping young players, guide them in the way, down the right path. And I also work at a school as a sports mentor, again with kids that sometimes maybe have behavioural problems, and the school's called Patcham High. Big up Patcham.
Come on.
But yeah, it's just mentoring youth through sport, pretty much. I find that's a great way to build rapport with kids. A lot of kids like sport. It's not just football, when it comes to the school. It's any sport they like. And I find I can do cognitive therapy with them as well. I'm a mental health champion. So Fulham have put me through a course called Mental Health Champion, which is like an extension of the psychiatrists. So we've got sports and clinical psychiatrists at the club. But if anyone's feeling that they need to talk to somebody, they could talk to somebody like myself. And if I deem it severe enough, I can refer them. And if not, I can deal with it myself. But I've been trained to have skills to talk to people and get them to open up. So that's pretty much what I do now. And obviously, start of this year, writing a book as well. So I'm looking to write a book, in touch with a few writers and publishers to get my story out there. And I feel a lot of people want to know about my career and what happened to Matthew Briggs. So I feel like it's the perfect opportunity now I've stopped playing to put it all down in pen to paper and let people know the real Matthew Briggs and what happened. So just to wrap this up, I've got 2 questions for the Rising Ballers community. What's your why? Why did you do it? Why did you play football? And the second would be, would you benefit from having a mentor? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah? Done. Lovely,
Cool.
Thank you so much.